Welcome to LaTB, the only podcast that comes with a free Bandits bonus.
Card delivery included.
LaTB, where MMA and UFC get silly. This is the LaTB podcast.
Welcome back. Episode 210. We did it. We finally did it. Mexicans are on top. Back again. You know how we've been supporting all fighters, but generally, for us heavyweights, it's the first time. Well, us heavyweights, us Mexican community, we don't tend to make them that big. So, other than Kane, one of the first foreshadowing of combative sports in the Mexican community, definitely heavyweights came back. Peak performance is definitely in the Mexican culture right now as far as combat sports. But before we get into all of that, how have you been since we last met? We had a heavy-duty weekend. A lot of combat sports going on.
I thought you were just jumping right into it. I was like, I'll follow you. It doesn't even, it was a fight day yesterday. I didn't mind the UFC fights early. And I know a lot about combat sports. I forgot this Joshua on DAZN was even happening until it was like around.
After the fights were over, after UFC was over, you're like, oh yeah, there's still fights.
Oh no, I was done with the day, was off Twitter, just later laying in bed, scrolling through Twitterverse, and I'm like, do I want to get that on? Nah, I know how that's going to turn out. Trash can fight on DAZN. Holy shit.
Wow. We finally did it. Heavyweights, first Mexican heavyweight ever in the history of boxing. Definitely looks like a premier athlete. Maybe not so much.
And for those that don't know what we're talking about, because we've just alluded around the bush, I keep waiting for you to drop it.
Joshua versus Ortiz.
Luis Jr.
There it is. What's his first name? Exactly. All I knew is that going up into the week, it seemed like a trash can fight, as you were saying. Here we have a Mexican fighter who looks more out of shape than most people in general, has 21 knockouts with about 30-something and only 1 or 2 losses, has a few belts, but still, Joshua coming out of the UK, looking all bodied up. He's definitely the spot-on coming-in champion. Minus 1,200.
He was a 30-1 favorite at some point in the whole thing. Like, crazy odds.
After the first knockdown in, the second round, I'm sure?
No, I don't even think it was that. I think it was, even before the fight started. It was such a lopsided...
I thought it was 12-1. I thought it was that Shevchenko eye type of money was what I was seeing.
Yeah, I heard that it was, a crazy ground-breaking differential between the two fighters. I didn't know anything about Luis, and... I actually thought that's the guy that Diego Sanchez has been training.
That's horrible.
I was like, good on Diego. Get him in there. But DAZN, they kind of bought Joshua and...
Kind of.
The other... Well, who was he going to fight? Who else was he going to fight in there?
Tyson Fury...
Not on DAZN though, because Tyson Fury has his own contract,
but
so they wouldn't have been able to fight.
Fury has said that he's willing to do that fight because he doesn't care.
Well, it's not that he's willing or not. He's contractually obligated with a different network that's not DAZN, so he wouldn't be able to at all.
But Fury openly talked about this, and he's like, "I've fought for other organizations with the company I'm at now. My company's willing to do it."
Both of theirs,
but AJ didn't want to, is what I've kept hearing. AJ doesn't want Wilder or Fury. But he's willing to fight.
Why?
He wants to fight trash cans.
No,
exactly.
Well, maybe he's just not even close to as good as those guys.
Which is what the boxing community has been saying for a long time. It's Tyson Wilder. For me, AJ was never up there. Yes, he fits the build as far as muscular-looking young man, but as far as skills, he really hasn't fought people of caliber. And again, the only people in that range right now, he can't even get past. Do you think Ruiz comes in and with that fight style beats a Wilder, he has probably more of a chance of beating Wilder than Fury in my eyes?
No, I don't think he beats either of those people.
Either of those guys.
I never was a huge Anthony Joshua fan. I always thought Tyson Fury above. You can listen back to the earliest tapes. I always felt like Tyson was going to beat all those guys. I thought he was going to beat Deontay Wilder, and I still think he beat Deontay. So in my opinion, if Joshua gets knocked out by Luis Jr., and who's a guy that could be fighting down, if he's winning at this weight class, he can win at lower weight classes.
But this is the same thing we see with a lot of 205ers in the UFC, I feel like, when it's like the Justin Ledet, where it's like, yeah, go down, and you're fighting other athletes that are caliber, where heavyweight division's weak if you're a big guy and you're not in the NBA or football.
Well, if you see the height differential between these two, it's everything. But if you see one of the... in the fight, did you watch the fight?
I not live. I watched all of the retweets and all that. But yeah.
But did you watch the whole fight yet?
No, I want to say I watched the key points.
Oh,
I didn't watch the entire fight.
I watched the 7 rounds twice, and the first knockdown, you kind of think, oh, this is exactly how we all thought it was going to go. Like, everyone's like,
against Ruiz.
That's what I thought.
Right.
Then when the knockdowns start for Luis...
against Joshua.
Against Joshua, when he starts his knockdowns, I really didn't think Joshua was going to be able to come back. I think it was the second or third round. I didn't think he was going to be able to come back from those.
Wow.
So then when he got back, and then the rounds keep going, and I know when the finish is. I already know when the finish when I'm watching these fights. That's why I even watched the whole thing. I couldn't... Watching him in the third, I was like, how's he going to get all the way to the 7th? How's this guy?
You could see Joshua fading already.
Oh my gosh, it was awful. And then by the time he gets all the way through to the 7th, when the fight was stopped, with your UFC eyes, you're looking at him, you're like, oh, this is over. Like, you already know. Yeah. Before it's called at all, you're like, he's not there anymore. Yeah. And if the ref would have let him back in after that point, you would have said, ooh, that's bullshit.
Well, he would have been Night. He would have been Jimmy Manuwa in there if they would have let it keep going.
Yeah.
And I totally agree.
He got picked up, and everyone kept saying too, it was like a slow build-up.
Yes.
Once he blew his wad, but it wasn't that slow. If it's the 7th round and he's already cashed, it's not that slow. What was it, a 14-round fight? I don't know, 12-round fight?
Yep.
So it's like, he was good after he put in that second round that he knocks down Luis,
right,
and Luis came back and handled it, he was cashed.
Yes.
He didn't know what to do from there. It was just very eye-opening for me. But I have to be honest, I don't think I've ever watched too many of Joshua's fights, or if I do, they're really
if they are, they're the highlights of the trash cans he's knocked out, and you're like, oh yeah, that guy looks good, because you don't see the rest of the fight. I really think Ruiz is very arm punchy. I feel like he pushes a lot of his punches. Does he have power? Yeah, a bit, but all heavyweights do. But like you're saying, I think that accumulation of a knockout was a lot of cardio.
He had a lot of 3- and 4-round combinations that landed, and he had a good combination of body to head, body to head, body to head. And when you see the shot, one of the shots that lands right on the temple, and it's a photo shot,
right? It rattles
from behind, and you see how big Luis Jr.'s back is. You're like, whoa. He's huge.
Yeah, he's
like,
a big
it's
guy.
just like, it's so buried in the way his body looks rolly, but he actually has so much muscle under there. You're like, you wonder if Anthony Joshua just completely didn't train, just negated him altogether. Like, oh, trash can, I'll walk right in and win this.
Ruiz, I believe it was 3 weeks ago, maybe 3 months ago, because I don't keep that much up, that high up, but I do believe Teddy Atlas was just talking about this. He's like, Ruiz is going to probably come in here and and lose. The most he's ever made is 20 grand, 50 grand in a fight, maybe $500,000 at most for a different championship fight. But in this loss, regardless, he was going to get paid $3 million. That just went double, like all that money through the roof. And this is a guy, Ruiz, that they picked out. Joshua's camp picked out because they thought that they could beat him. So he has nothing to lose. And all of a sudden, it's just, he's set for life.
He's not on with the zone, is he?
Ruiz?
Yeah.
I'm not aware of his contracts yet.
It would be interesting, because if he's not, he has every bit of money to make to now jump over and fight Tyson Fury and make a shit ton of money. And then if Deontay Wilder isn't signed to any promotion, so which is pretty awesome that he just promotes himself and does it that way, they could go fight each other, and both the MFers without any promoters stand to make all the money and change boxing for the better. I don't know.
Interesting.
I like it. I like that it happened. It's a shake up.
Agreed.
And like you're saying, has the Mexican community ever had a heavyweight?
No, never. I know that for a fact. That's
awesome.
That's the first time ever.
That's awesome.
First time ever. What I would like to is, if the fans could help me out here, I was actually trying to make a bet on this fight. I tend to use Bovada. Or I claim to use Bovada, supposedly, but there was no lines for this fight. And I got in like 2 hours before and was like, cool, because I was going to put a little bit, half a unit, if even that, maybe 0.5 of a unit on Ruiz, just because I was like, I think Joshua's a bit of a hype train and this Ruiz guy. And there was a lot of people on my feed, bettors that I know, that were like, hey, don't sleep on Ruiz. Like, don't sleep on this guy. But it's more just that Joshua, he's not willing to fight the top level competition. So it was like, there's right upset, or there's rightful ways. Another reason people have been kicking around is the curse. Is the curse officially real? I feel like it is. we got Drizzy Drake himself being in all sorts of pictures with all sorts of athletes. T. Woods fell to the curse. Who else fell to the curse?
Connor.
Khabib.
Which that's what I thought was funny because Coach Kavanaugh tweeted out, if Drake ever tries to visit my gym, he's getting roundhouse kicked. Get out of my gym. I don't want any of it. So I thought that was kind of funny because people said the Connor before Drake fight, Connor before Floyd fight.
Yep.
T. Woods, Max Holloway.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a good amount of people. The only people who haven't so far, but I don't know if he's been allowed in the back room yet. The Raptors, they're officially 1-0.
That's true right now, but it's not the series.
He's sitting in the corner, and I remember seeing Drizzy Drake talking all sorts of shit to those basketball players. People didn't like that.
He was talking shit, but one of the funny things that he did is Steph Curry's father played for the Raptors back when.
Oh, okay.
And so Drake came out in a vintage Steph Curry's dad jersey from the Raptors.
That's pretty cool.
What he wore.
That's pretty dope.
I thought that was all right.
But again, you get in near my basketball dressing room, and I'm getting you punched right in the mouth, Drake. Get out of here, Drake.
I did awful on the fights, which we'll get into in a second, but I did win on this first game of basketball. I should say I broke even.
You
I did
played some
really
DK?
good on one. That was so exciting. Yeah, I played some DK, and I played heavier than I normally do. And I did so good on one, but it really just broke me even because of how... but I went on, which I never do this. I went on a few different basketball podcasts, and I took people's advice, and I made a few tickets, and then I made my own. My own is what broke me even. Everybody else's got me in the bottom of the heap. And
interesting.
It was, yeah, I was super surprised that just my knowledge of what the two teams, they just happened to be two teams who I liked some players on both of them all season as well. And then they have this captain's bracket where you can put one guy to get more points than they're at the top, and they multiply 1.5 by all their points, and they cost a little more, and then you fill it in.
I've seen that.
I'm only saying all this stuff because I wish we could do this with UFC as well. I wish DraftKings would do a captain.
Right.
That you could put a captain on your night, and the guy that you saw because this would change the game everywhere.
Sure.
And it also makes it more likely for a first place. Which
it differentiates
especially
it a
for the
bit more.
basketball because it's like $1 million tournament. Do you think the Drake curse is real? Sorry to get off topic there.
I definitely do think the Drake
He's
curse
the one
is
who
real.
pulled out his unit first.
So it was Drake, but even Anthony Joshua tweeted saying, "About to break that curse tonight. Me and my bookie have it figured out." Ruiz wasn't in on the deal.
Oh my gosh! What about if Anthony Joshua bet the farm on himself? So yeah, we kind of already talked about this.
Sure.
Does Anthony Joshua still matter to either of these guys?
Nope. I mean, the really only fight that Joshua's can potentially have here is going to be against Ruiz. Is a rematch. That's it.
And he has to almost redeem himself before he even gets to see
this. Yep. But he doesn't want to because they both offered to fight Joshua, and his manager has always been like, the travel, the promoters, the box.
I'm so glad. Yep. I have to remember this too. Oh,
yes. Right
in the 7th round, and the people that watched the fight, you see a few times in the fight, Joshua is he's just so arrogant. He's just an arrogant, condescending dude.
Ooh.
And in a way that Dante and Tyson Fury is in a mocking way of himself that's super endearing. And then Dante Wilder is super down to earth and amazing. Anthony Joshua in the 7th round, he's in the corner, the first knockdown in the 7th. And he even he looks to the audience and shrugs and raises his eyebrow like that good looking guy, oh, got lucky. It's just such. So when he gets knocked down the second time and you can see that bird that was spinning around with stars is no longer there. No one's home. He has total shark eyes at this point. You're like, holy hell. I think he would get murked by Dante.
Agreed.
And I think both guys would knock him out.
Yeah,
I think both guys would knock him out.
Tyson Fury would pick him apart till it was over.
Yeah, Tyson Fury would pick him apart until he gave up because Tyson Fury cardio so much.
Exactly. Better. Where Wilder would be more of that one-punch knockout. We'd see him laying out on the ground type of a fight. So, definitely, is that enough boxing talk? We really don't talk much boxing other than Floyd and Connor. And Malinaji Lobov, I guess.
It was just such a big deal. Last night, I could see everybody.
Everybody.
I think it's okay if we're like...
It's combat sports. It's still combat sports. We're still making bets.
Isn't it interesting for homeboy who won last night and beat Joshua? It's still like we have to talk about Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. Like, that's the real still.
Yeah, those are the real champions of that division. For sure, for sure. But... do you think that Luis ends up fighting either of them, or is it? I mean, it's only Joshua.
Oh yeah,
it's only Joshua.
If he's smart, he gets to fight one of them. I think whoever gives him the most money,
yes.
because unless he wins, and then he'll get to fight both of them.
Right.
But otherwise, it'll just cement somebody else, and we'll be doing boxing math, which is kind of like MMA math, where it's like, oh, whoever, well, he beat Ruiz, he'd easily beat Joshua. So. Yeah, cool schmool. I liked it. Definitely
back to the MMA talk, back to the grappling, back to the scene. We talked about this briefly, that there is a June 15 bout in a jiu-jitsu tournament held on by Supreme Patty, who is a young man
dude
with horrible acne.
Oh my gosh, that's what I thought too. And I don't usually care about, I would never put down somebody's face, but it just is like... he just looks greasy. It's not
well, that's it. When he talks, he always gets that white around his mouth as well. In a lot of videos I see, but I don't know why he's so famous other than popular for being popular, I guess. But unique New York, definitely.
But yeah, I just saw that this Chris Barnett versus Yoel Romero was added. We already talked about the Anthony Pettis, Jorge Masvidal, but I thought, like, wow, this is getting kind of big. He must be Supreme Patty. Maybe he's like a YouTube guy and super famous, and he's putting on his own fight.
Yep, that's exactly it.
Smart way to go about doing it.
I agree.
Real stars in, so you get the real fight fans, put on an entertaining thing.
Right, and have a couple freak shows. And by freak shows, I mean, I know that Patty guy rolls with Wide Neck out of Florida. Get Wide Neck against Long Neck and have them in a jiu-jitsu bout? Like, that's a freak show.
For people that don't know, they're like Instagram and YouTube, right? Facebook.
Famous. Yeah, you'll find them if you type in those exact terms.
If you put in the old...
Wide Neck Gang?
No, Wide Neck Gang, but what's the other guy was before Wide Neck Gang? There was the other dude.
Long Neck?
Long Neck is the OG.
Yeah. Long Neck is creepy.
OG, and Long Neck is like a juggalo in like the middle of Kentucky or something, and he has had a YouTube channel with, he's like, he was a star on somebody else's YouTube channel that you can look up. That's a huge fat guy. That's super disgusting.
That's gross.
They look like carnies.
They definitely are the circus of the YouTube world in my eyes. But I do feel that, I'm not trying to throw any shade, but I feel like Long Neck is actually disabled. I feel like his IQ might be underneath.
You know what? That's that Flint water. That's where he's from. Flint, Michigan.
Is it?
I don't know why. That's
that
Flint water.
I believe it.
Both guys are from Flint, Michigan, and I just thought that was like, you need to clean that water system out. we're gonna get so much.
We're gonna get so much. Love it, love it, love it. So, how do you feel about this match? Are you going to end up watching it? Because Yoel Romero signing up for a wrestling or a jiu-jitsu match when he got $27 million in the pocket is like...
It's getting more entertaining to me. Like, this whole idea and...
what if Long Neck and Wide Neck got in there?
I don't even care about them at all.
But would you watch?
No.
Oh, okay.
Like, I might watch a GIF later, but I have no interest in watching.
I'm in that boat. I'll be watching the GIFs for all of them.
I have no... But this, I would actually maybe tune in for.
Watch the match.
These kind of legit... homies rolling around, but good on Supreme Patty. Hey, it's kind of like a Logan Paul thing, but just jiu-jitsu only.
Didn't that fat guy just get knocked out by Logan Paul in a slap?
Fat guy, I don't know.
Oh, there's a whole different video where Logan Paul slaps a fat guy and knocks him out, but I feel like the fat guy with the mullet was in a part of it, like being a part of his crew. So you'll be able to find that. Other people we saw end up getting slapped into oblivion was definitely Yoel Alvarez debuting Danilo Bernardo.
What's not on here before we get into it?
What is that?
Brennan motherfucking Schaub. This drives me crazy. You guys should see all this work we do to get them in order.
Guys don't know.
And for them to be out of order is insane.
So, should we keep on breaking it down, getting into the 12-card bout that we had out of Stockholm, Sweden?
Well, I was going to ask if you wanted to talk about Brennan Schaub.
I think we'll be able to get him into there because it is a string snitch, and you know how I got that hate in my heart, but we know we have a B-Shop lover here, so I do want to hear your point of view on this because you know where I'm getting. I'm dropping them dank-ass memes all over B-Shop's face. You did it to yourself, homie.
I think if you think that Brennan Schaub single-handedly brought down streaming. That is so, it's just haterade because he's good looking, he has a sexy ass wife, he's a millionaire, he drives the nice cars, and he's getting to live his dream doing stand-up comedy. Even though he's okay at it, he still put out a special that at least he has some kind of record of. My favorite thing, if I watch all his shows and shit, but when he was on Joe Rogan, right away he's like, oh, it's been a stressful week and stuff. First thing Joe says to him, you guys can look back to the show, Joe's like, well, it's your first special. You're going to look at it, you're going to hate it, you're going to get better, and you're going to move on. Like, Joe's like, that piece of shit. He doesn't say that. But just the way he says it, right. It's just like, you know and I know that ain't good.
Yeah, that wasn't good.
Like, but it's not like it's awful. It's just what you'd expect somebody. He should have done a half-hour special. But yeah, I just don't have hate on him for the stream thing. Sure. I think they brought down a whole bunch of streams on Reddit. It wasn't just MMA streams. It was all kind of places giving that shit out. So, but I know everyone hates Brennan.
That's exactly it. And hey, I do drink the juice. I am in that Kool-Aid. Hater. So I still wish him the best in everything. But again, when you get that big of a platform, sometimes there is things that I remember. Who was it? Brian Redband back in the day talking a little bit about this and being like, I don't want to talk about this, Joe, because I don't want to mess this up. And he was talking about Cody back in the day. And we're so far past Cody, they couldn't bring that down if they wanted to. There's so many APKs that are so different at this point. So I don't feel like we're necessarily snitching. We're not telling you the direct streaming service where he's like.
He never did either.
I did not watch.
So you just hate on top of other people's hate?
Yep.
He never ever directly said anything. This is the whole thing, and anyone can look back at it. He was really just more so bitching at how hard it was for the ESPN Plus, from ESPN to ESPN Plus, and then when he went on ESPN Plus, he did everything in his power, and he couldn't find the pay-per-view, so he didn't get to watch the pay-per-view that night, and he had his entire family over, all sitting around, and he's like, are you kidding me? Wow. Are you kidding me right now? So then he had to go online and ask friends, what do I do right now? I need to get the stream. So they sent him the illegal stream, and that's all he says. They sent me the illegal stream. I got on there. I got to be honest, it was 4K. I don't even understand why they're making it so difficult. How is it easier for me to find an illegal stream than a real stream? So really it was a bag on ESPN Plus more than it was an opening of the stream. So that is my Brennan Schaub. Your Honor.
Okay, I like that. I gotta cut him a little more slack here, but right now, he's an easy target, as they say. I will say though.
Do you think he'd beat Greg Hardy?
Yes.
Yep. B-Schaub versus Greg Hardy.
But B-Schaub's a 205er now. He ain't no heavyweight. So.
That's true.
With B-Schaub, with all this.
Did he knock out Anthony Joshua? I'm just kidding.
With this I did not have ESPN2. For my early prelims, because I thought it was going to be all ESPN Plus. Immaculate stream. I found a stream that was from the UK somewhere. Perfect. Got on my ESPN Plus. I was buffering every 5 to 10 minutes. Yeah, no joke. No joke. And I'm like, unbelievable. I'm just like, really? But I had that exact same issue.
My ESPN2, I went to the bar. And I played Golden Tee.
Nice.
I may have had it on mine, but I didn't really look. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go watch this, have the TV in front of me. Shot 2 hole-in-ones.
Interesting, in the zone.
Yeah, if we threw video up here, I'd have them. I'd be like, look at this one, and look at this one. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. We can break down UFC Stockholm the morning after.
And oh, what a morning it was. Rough night for everybody, though. There was a lot of underdogs that came in. I do feel like out of everybody I follow on Tapology, I mean, the best picks of the night was 8 out of 12. 8 out of 12 was the best.
Usually we got perfect score. Some people, not us, but some people have, sometimes we do, but yeah, some people have, usually when you watch a fight card, the best score is a perfect score.
Right, it's like 11 of 12.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
Never an 8 of 12.
Never an 8 of 12. That's definitely though, but we had underdogs nonstop coming through. Again, a lot of close lines lined up. DraftKings winning my money back like usual, but not really getting in there high. Had a couple people shitting in bed. Had some not so much. A guy that really shot in the bed for me was this debuter.
Money back. Well,
breaking even at least.
What cards?
I'll show you. Yeah, I think I was like in the 490 because the highest cards I saw didn't break 600, which we usually see on DraftKings.
I had a bad night on the DK, but thank goodness for basketball. That's how good my basketball was. Is that all of it made up for my loss with the UFC on Saturday.
Definitely. So the first one started out against debuting Danilo Bernardo against Joel Alvarez. Alvarez coming in and actually losing the whole first and second round. Whole entire fight, got a reversal, and then ground and pounded Danilo there. Soft punches. I mean, he just curled up, stopped defending in the second round. But I thought with a chin like that or with a defense like that, can't trust Danilo at all. And Alvarez, I still don't like anything I saw from him. He was losing the fight until he was winning all of a sudden.
I kind of thought he was losing the whole fight, that I was disgruntled and kind of was going to go do a chore in the other room. Like, whatever. Walk away from this because I had Alvarez on the fight and he did not look good anywhere. And I thought he submitted him. Even when I watched the replay that I told you, oh, submission. And then when I rewatch it, you're like, it wasn't a submission, it was a knockout. I was like, oh, because it was such baby punches up close. It's almost like, did Bellardo, did he get hurt somewhere? Or like, did a bone break? It just, the way he curled up was so odd.
I didn't see it, but I do, and now, hindsight 2020, Danilo's other 3 TKO finishes he had prior in his early career were on ground and pound, and it was the same positions where you're like, I don't see the punch that really landed, but all of a sudden, he looks all sorts of hurt in there, so I don't think we can trust him. Yeah, like, you can't trust that in the UFC. If he's a front runner with no chin, that's not good.
First
not
fight
good
of the
at
night,
all.
do either guys go anywhere?
Well, Alvarez keeps his job. He's now 1-0, but I think Danilo...
Do you feel good about his win since he's hurt the whole time?
That's what I'm saying. I don't like either guy, but I think that Danilo had such a bad showing in there potentially that he gets brought in to be a trash can, to bring somebody else up. Again, both of these guys.
Like somebody from the Contender series.
Exactly. Someone they're like, oh, the new next striker, and then he finishes Danilo, and you're like, wow, this guy's a murderous puncher, and then he doesn't ever win again in the UFC. That's the type of caliber I saw that guy at. Alvarez is going to be in dirtier fights. I do believe he went to Top Team, though. I was hearing on the commentary. Alvarez actually switched up camps.
So maybe that might help.
But we said that as well on our breakdowns. We were just like, they're 26 years old. These guys are young. They're going to go to new camps all of a sudden. Once they've debuted, they'll have other camps be like, okay, you did the hard part. We'll get you better now. So, on to 205 pounds. We had...
the ladies.
What ladies?
Oh, huh. I forgot them. Devin Clark and...
Oh, yeah, this was a Stojic. I feel like this was spot on. I did have a finish coming in for Clark. He was the underdog, ended up being even money by the time the fights came around. But Stojic, like I said if he doesn't get you out of there in that first round, he gasses hard. He did look a little more put together than Devin Clark, because Devin Clark, when he gets tired, he looks like a noodle man. One of those flailing noodle mans in front. Like, his arms are down.
It was actually the other way. I thought the fight went the other way, and I thought Devin Clark looked worse at the end of the fight. I thought his cardio looked worse than Stosic. The amount of punches thrown by Devin Clark, or strikes thrown in general, were more.
Yes.
I can see that he eked out the fight. And I also thought that they didn't count one of the takedowns that I thought was a takedown on Clark. They did not count it for Clark.
Right.
And I was surprised on that. Like, they counted every single thing that Clark even touched to their... I was just surprised on the whole judging of this fight. And, yeah, whatever. It wasn't egregious. It wasn't far enough.
Stojic was knocked down in that first round by a jab. So that gave that first round to Clark, and then the third round with the volume. So the second round was the only one I could give it.
I thought the first round was Clark. I thought the second and third was Stojic. I thought he figured out enough because I thought he got the double takedown in the, or that takedown in the third, but they didn't count that as a takedown.
Not enough control.
Yeah, so that would be the only difference. I thought they were just kind of neck and neck on the third, and then that takedown cemented it. So it wasn't bad enough to make me pissed, because Devin Clark with the knockdown in one was kind of he put him in a more devastating situation. Right. Was put on him.
Where do you go with Devin Clark here? Because you were telling me to stay away from this guy.
I'm still staying far away from him. I think he's still garbage. Where do you go with him?
I'm gonna probably bet against him in a lot of other spots as well. But I feel like I was saying with Draco.
How many points? It seemed like garbage points too. What do you get? Like 38 points or something?
I think it was like 58 to 60 points.
Yeah. How much was he?
It's like 7,
he was
8. Yeah, he was an underdog, especially on DraftKings where Stokic was like 8-7 or something like that. So with that, just
and
a front
there was
runner.
a point that I thought Clark was a goner in there.
Stokic throws with power.
Yeah.
But he just doesn't throw a lot.
Both guys, I think Stoic, even going forward, I have a
As
little
more
more
of a
faith
prospect.
in him.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. On to the 145-pound ladies. We had Bay Malecki coming in against Duda Santana.
145ers?
Correct. The really tall 5'11" Malecki against Santana's little more thicker route in there. That right hand looking good for Santana in that first round. Hurting Malecki. Malecki's head movement really bad. What I didn't know is Malecki went to Fortis MMA. She's training with Kiesan and all those other good Fortis guys. Her striking, even though it's Muay Thai based, still don't like Malecki's striking. I thought she was getting picked apart on the ground. She got taken down, and she had a better ground game off of her back, but she gave up that position in first round. She lost the first, and in the second round, she finally got the rear naked choke and stayed on it really well, but that's just a low caliber Duda Santana. I don't like either one of these ladies going forward. I think Malecki showed me a lot of holes, and so did Santana, so...
Yes,
I don't think they win a lot.
The 145 is a sketch. I don't even know what's happening.
Well, didn't we have officially
Could
Christiana
either of
Cyborg?
these women beat Megan Anderson?
Nope.
No?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't Megan. But then again, I've been so freaking wrong with Megan. I'm like, I don't fucking know what though. But these are not contenders to Megan even. And Megan's not even in the contendership. Like, that's how...
Is there even a champion of the 145?
Yeah. Amanda Leon.
I thought she didn't want it.
She's still a champ of it.
I just wanted to fight.
Well, then it's Cyborg versus Felice, the debut fighter who just beat Megan, is fighting Cyborg next for the belt.
Oh yeah, maybe that's what it is.
And that's trash. It's like, oh really? So Cyborg gets the belt again? Okay, maybe. True. Felicia Spencer did show out. But how do you feel with either one of these ladies moving forward?
I don't know. I really don't even remember watching this fight. I know
you didn't miss much. You didn't miss much.
But the part I did see, Santana was kind of controlling the feet a little more. I did not see the submission at all for Malecki, and I was surprised later when I looked that she won. I thought it was just going to be Santana by decision. Even when I watched, I was like,
because Santana was winning.
Yeah.
Yep, she was winning that fight. This is one of those things where here, if you're not liking and subscribing at LaTB, there was a lot of other podcasts that I listened to after the fact, after we do ours, but there was a lot of people that didn't even break this fight down. Like, we at least give you the common courtesy, and they're like, all right, we looked at it.
Oh, look at, there he is.
Oh, there's that son of a gun.
Sneaking up on you. That's kind of funny. That he's like, you know what, I'm just going to weasel in here. I'll just weasel in right between this lady fight and...
It was definitely a lot more controversial and interesting what Brendan Schaub ended up doing than either one of those ladies in there.
I know, it is funny though. He's the stream snitch because of the golden snitch.
Now he's the new golden snitch. And I just love the memes. The memes have been pretty good coming out there. I've been retweeting them at Zoltanite. Be sure to follow. So, we got Nick Hine coming in against Frank Camacho. This ended up finishing a TKO. Round number 2. Highest scorer on all of DraftKings was Camacho with 120 points. I mean, this was a tune-up. This was a tune-up fight for Camacho, essentially. That brawling style that we were alluding to here on the show didn't really show out. Camacho came in with a very moderate game plan, went to the body from the start. That right body kick really added up. I think after the first 3 body kicks in the first minute and a half that I saw, I sent you a text saying, you could already see Nick Hine being like not wanting to take those kicks, and then he started getting kicked to the leg. Camacho never jumped on him in that usual brawling stance and just picked apart Hine until it's time for Nick Hine to do a little, I know I'm jumping the gun here, get on out of here. There was a couple guys throughout the night. He actually retired. He did as well?
Yeah, he retired.
Oh, well, rightly so.
He's like, when something happens, like if you're some reality star and you pass away and then a big, huge A-list celebrity dies the same day, no one remembers yours. That's kind of what his retirement is. So I wanted to bring it up here because I was like, I had to dig all the way to the back pages. Like I found it like by the massage parlors. Like, that's where I was like, oh, Nick Hine retired. So you were dead on with this fight. Even I wish that the Camacho was the one you needed on your cards. If you had Camacho, you could guarantee yourself a break even. And this is where you went. Definitely, we were split here. and I didn't even know he was the heaviest. I put Hein on a few because we had to change our cards up with that
fallout of Latifi versus Ozdemir. That's right.
Yeah,
yep.
That was such a bummer, and I had to change
my cards
last
a lot of them.
minute and kind of shove them in. And Nick Hein ended up on a few of my cards because I just saw it going to decision either way. But yeah, I want to jump on Camacho, but Nick Hein just didn't really put up a fight in there. So I'm a little nervous, but yeah. I loved everything I saw from Camacho, and like you were saying, body work. He just had good combinations up, good combinations down, and just picked him up. He looked like he had a C-list sparring partner.
Totally agree. Totally agree. But I do like what you're saying there. Hein was at the end of the rope. He was on the tail end of his career, so if people are trying to put
retired.
Exactly, people are going to be like 9,300 for Camacho's next fight, easy finish. It's like whoa. Remember the opponent. Camacho did look good in there, but you know it takes two to tango in there sometimes. And when you have a punching bag, it's easy to look good. At 155 pounds, we had Leonardo, the 39-year-old Santos, coming in against Stevie Ray. TKO round number 1. This was the bandit bonus. This was the bandit bonus of the night, and holy jeez, were we wrong. Trying to fade Santos, but Stevie Ray is just, if he doesn't, there's the only people Stevie Vaughn is beating is guys that are no longer in the UFC, and anyone who has any type of good stuff. We
also agreed on friggin' Tamor.
Yep.
We should have picked him as our
underdog.
You love the Tayless.
I love it.
I love it.
I love it.
We should have picked that. Oh my gosh. Stevie Ray didn't look good in this whole fight. And then when he got clipped, it was like...
It was 2 minutes into the fight, and it was a counter right that just put him out.
Yeah, he didn't look good in those 2 minutes.
True.
I just felt like Santos looked like a world beater in there. Looked like a bigger guy, better trained. And then he left, and I was hoping I'm such a poor sport. I was like, they should DQ him.
Hell yeah, I thought that too. I was like, come on, Stevie. Let's go, Stevie.
Yeah, Stevie, that's my disqualification.
That's 100 points on DK, though. Mm-hmm. And I could have used that very, very quick, very badly.
Would we be sticking up for it today? Them the rules.
Yeah,
the rules.
Exactly.
Sticking up for it if it happens like dirtbags.
It depends on what my bet. It depends on what the bets say, for sure. But I know it's in their contract, and they're not supposed to leave the cage.
I thought, without a doubt, this was easily going to be the worst knockout of the night.
Stevie Ray was out before he hit the ground.
And highlight knockout.
Yeah, for the
easily. I thought it was easily going to be the worst knockout of the night. Do you anything for Santos or not quite yet? Just let him.
He can fight anybody because he's so in between
and
there.
Ray?
But Ray's get on out of here. He's 4 in a row, especially off Santos. Yeah. With Santos, what I would say though is that he's 39. He can only fight rank opponents at this point in his career. He can't be fighting Stevie Ray. Nothing.
Advice. That's really smart advice.
It's got to be top. It's got to be a number next to him, or you're not fighting him at Santos' age. He just can't get in there with murderers, which Stevie Ray might not be anymore. On to 135 pounds, we had Lena Landsberg coming in against Tanya Evinger. 3-round decision.
This. What's this doing here?
It switched it up.
And, decision. Brennan Schaub. I blame this on Brennan Schaub.
Interesting. It's such a to win that.
I was like, I knew I made it, but maybe I didn't stick it in.
Maybe that bar got to you. Maybe the beers ended up getting to you.
I know I didn't work on this at the bar.
So we ended up having it go the other way than our actual graph. Lena Landsberg ended up, actually, she's been training at, I believe it's also been Top Team. She did change up her camp as well. I could be wrong on that. But as much as we were saying that this was the second biggest favorite of the entire night with Evinger, we told you here, she's not worth it for -300. Tanya's not the same from that leg injury. We highlighted it, and I feel like this, even if she's not saying it, the fact that she can't run on the road at 37 years old because that knee's now crippled, her cardio goes down. And you need your legs to do cardio. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe you can row and do other stuff. But either way, that was definitely one of the roughest times we've ever seen Evinger in there. Her heart was just barely there. She got cut early by the elbow queen in that first round. Bled more than anyone throughout the entire night, but just gave up position where she on the ground is supposed to be the far superior submission specialist, Tanya Evinger. She was out-muscled on the ground nonstop. It was a purple belt versus a blue belt, essentially.
I felt like Tanya would control the first 2.5 minutes of each round, and then Lena would take over the round in ways that weren't usually Landsberg-esque, so to speak. Even a couple of ground reversals that usually would have been all Tanya's to have. You saw her do a flip over, like you always talk about it when they kind of brace their legs out, like if you're going to do a rollover so I can regather the momentum to get on top.
Right, putting the hooks in?
Kind of, but it's just a certain way that they're kind of...
getting hooks in under the armpits and stuff,
and
position?
The way their legs, like I would lock my legs around ankles, keep the legs straight so I could reverse it over. In the second round of the fight, I think it was when it was happening, which usually would be all for... Tanya to win all day, but like you're saying, with her knees and just her age, cut that early. She got once they cleaned up the cut, I was like, okay, that's not as bad as I thought. You know, she's bleeding because it's like right there on that vein in her forehead, but you're right, tons of blood. I want to hate all on Tanya here. I do think she's at the end of her rope, but I also think, dare I say, Lena has progressed.
Yeah, she looked better.
She looked like a good version of herself in there, and I was surprised at some of the damage that she took and still came back per her old self. Like, she's been in there with some monsters.
Definitely.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird division too, isn't this 135?
This is 135 pounds for sure. So moving forward, how are you going to be? I think I'm going to be fading Evinger a bit more than Linsberg. Yeah, anymore. I didn't like what I saw in there at all.
I don't either. I didn't like it either. So sorry, Tanya. I mean, I guess you don't want it one loss and you're out, but it's just like she's kind of come into the UFC and just been a punching bag. She hasn't really shown out since she's been here.
Yeah, I agree. She's late to the game. But here, Lena Landsberg's 37 years old as well, but she doesn't look as worn to me.
And she's progressing.
Right, she actually is building skill.
Degressing.
Again, that knee injury,
yeah,
I guarantee.
I believe it. That guy ruined her career.
Yep, that guy.
That sucks.
That's
bad coaching.
Her coaches ruined her career.
I actually told when I was watching this at Playing Golden Tee, I was talking about how her coaches ruined her career and how it was bad coaching. I was repeating your words from the podcast.
Definitely. Definitely. At 170 pounds, we had a double debut, being the preliminary headliner on ESPN2, depending on where you're at, BT2. But we had Sergey Kondotsko coming in and defeating the short notice replacement Rustam Akman, the hairiest man in the UFC. Officially, I mean, Akman came in with his Wolverine suit. This guy could sleep without a sleeping bag out in the Russian winters and be absolutely fine.
He had that Robin Williams body.
He beats Robin Williams.
Oh, yeah. He was hairy.
He was unbelievably.
He had a sweater on.
I had my girl. I was like, hey, check this out. She came in the room and was like, oh, what are you watching?
I wouldn't even like to touch him.
It was so gnarly. But Kondotsko, being a cited favor here, actually squeaked out a decision. I thought this could have went either way.
You know how you say some guys will grow their chest hair and then shave it, and then so
it'll
it's
hurt.
He would have like a porcupine.
It's smart, and that's what I would do. What I would do immediately, I'd shave like 4 to 5 days before the fights, and you'd be prickly as hell. But I know there's commissions I would check. Maybe, but if they don't check, all of a sudden you're like, ooh, I'm a sandpaper. I'm walking sandpaper. You're fucking good. Ugh. Ugh. I would tap right now. I'm tapping right now. But with these two debuters, I was actually surprised a bit more with Akman. Stayed in the pocket. As I was saying, I thought these guys were going to stand in front of each other and bang. And Sergey actually moved around, gave a lot of movement, had his back to the fence most of the time, but was landing the more combinations. Again, this could have been a dirty-ass split decision, either guy, and I wouldn't have been as mad. I did think that Sergey landed on top 1 or 2 times more, but he did look like by far the more gassed fighter in there, and he had a whole training camp compared to the 3-week replacement debuter. So I'm definitely tentative on these guys. I like what I saw from Akman. Sergey, a little more tentative on, but I think these guys will be fine in the division. I think that they can both squeak out wins here and there against some other lower level competition. I didn't see a world beater out of anyone specifically. I'm
kind of excited. I see it the other way. I like both guys going forward a little bit. Instead of tentative, I feel like Akman is going to be the underdog going forward. And Sergey, for some reason, I think they're going to keep him hometown and kind of have him where he's fighting in his local areas. He seems like he had a big local support
contingency there, yeah.
And I could see, and he's going to be the favorite. they're going to try, I hope they try to build him up a little, where I think they might throw Ackman to the wolves, and that's where we're going to see money to be made, because people are just going to see this loss against Sergi and
debuter and be like, whatever.
So that's the number one reason. It wasn't because his skill set was necessarily better. I do like that he did it on short notice, like you're saying as well. But it's just because I don't think anyone's going to see him coming. People that aren't paying attention aren't going to see him coming, and I like that.
Totally agree with that. Then moving on to at Zoltanite's free bet. If you're paying attention, you're getting plus money on these motherfucking bets. If you're following us at Lesbo and the Bean, you're also getting some plus money. Might as well
order again.
What? Interesting. But that was a preliminary main event. So again, we're just asking for a like and subscribe. We ain't offering you any money deals. We're actually trying to save you money on Lather and Company. Use that 15% off. It might be one of the last times that we have this Lather and Company dealies. No, never mind. But the 15, LaTB 15 is going to get you free shipping inside the United States domestically. UK, still, once it's $25 or more, that's how we're going to end up getting it to you out there. Be sure to use a code LaTB15 wherever you can. Use those buddies.
Company, get some good stuff. They have some bath and body supplies. They could supply your body with nourishing, cruelty-free treats with all the best ingredients.
Definitely the antioxidant soap. That's what I'm telling you guys to get. Especially if you're out on the mats, that's going to be the way to go. It's for that beneficial flora. We've talked about it before.
Detox bar.
There it is.
That is what it's called at Lather & Co. And you could get a couple of them and take them to your mat so you don't end up with the nasty old Kevin Lee
staph infection. Or impetigo.
Yeah, LATB 15. Get 15% off.
So definitely starting off the main card, we ended up having the Lesser Tamor coming in against debuting Sunbid Joe, 3-round decision. Ended up hoping this was going to be a finish, but was saying this Joe contender here has ended up beating a lot of trash cans in there. The leg kicks didn't play as much of a role as I was hoping to, but Tamor really got in Joe's face that first round and actually hurt him in the first round, knocked him down with the left hand, and then they both just proceeded to pretty much look at each other for the entire 2 other rounds. There wasn't anything dramatic that happened. It was just kind of Tamor stalking Joe a little bit more, and Joe tends to be the front runner more. He pushes more forward, so now that we saw him on his back foot, we saw he's not really a good fighter off his back foot, and now that he's in the UFC, it's not going to get any easier than Tayless. Like, this is probably the easiest fight you're going to have at 145 pounds. So, tentative. I like the athleticism and exposure in some of the kicks that Joe was throwing out there, but he needs maybe a new camp or a new revitalize with a new camp, because I do think he went to Tiger Muay Thai, but Tamor, did he go to Jackson Wink? Were they commentating on that? I think he has been at Jackson Wink a bit. I still don't think he goes far, though. We did bet on him. I should be hyping him up, but I'm like, there's a lot of looping, opening punches, and on the ground. He's
I feel tentative about both guys, and what Joe might have going for him is age. So if he goes to a right camp, like you're saying, and gets some little extras put in there, maybe we see something for him. But that's that Sage Northcutt kind of hope. I feel like at this level, man, you've got to be bringing all the tools to the table. It's just, it's not, the game isn't for a specialist anymore. And so if you're, I don't know. What do you do if you don't beat Tamor like David? So I don't know. David Tamor, if they keep welcoming other people that are going to come in, he's going to be like Brian Barberina. They're going to keep trying to feed him to different kids that they're like, oh, no one will see him coming, and he's going to keep winning. He's going to be a weird grinder that keeps beating these kids if they're not great at anything. Or he's a perfect, not even a gatekeeper. He's even way further out than a gatekeeper.
He's a doorman.
Kind of, but
that's even closer than the gatekeeper.
I think they, in my opinion, they fed Tamor to Joe. They thought Tamor was going to be a walkthrough, but I think in the same way as Brian Barberina, that they fed him to, like, you know, Mickey Gall, or they feed him to Sage Northcutt or whatever. He's going to keep. He's going to ruin the UFC's plans for these guys. He can't just be. Don't feed him to somebody. He's not quite on that level yet. He's getting a little better than just being a feeder fish.
definitely.
I don't know.
But
That was hard to say.
Yeah, where do you start out other than Tamur? Like that, I see as the bottom of the barrel of the division.
That's what I'm saying for Joe, but I'm just saying if you keep giving... He's going to do
these
this
type of guys, the tour.
Yeah. If you give him anyone that we know their name, he's
going to
lose.
Yep.
But any of these new guys, there's still money to be made. I guess that is...
okay, I like that. I like that. So, definitely weary on either one of those guys. Moving on to 155 pounds, we had Cristo Giagos coming in and defeating the favorite. It's got to be a
bug that these are out of order.
Yeah, that's weird because I thought we labeled them as well.
Okay.
But either way, we had, again, Giagos coming in and defeating Damir Hadzovic in a 3-round decision. The slight underdog ended up coming through with takedowns mainly. Hadzovic really 35% takedown defense, didn't show up here. I feel like Giagos went, I think, 6 of 9 or 6 of 10 takedowns, landing over 50%, and then holding the position, the beneficial position the whole time. Hadzovic really tried to get his striking going, but really didn't at times. Giagos did a good job of lulling Hadzovic into a striking exchange and then getting that double leg takedown and finishing out the fight. Giagos' gas tank still an issue, but so is Hadzovic. And Giagos was done in there. Absolutely gassed to the core, but was still able to shoot very slow outside shots and get him on Hadzovic. So that's just another negative checkbox for Hadzovic in my eyes. Giagos, I don't think goes super far. I think we've seen it proved time and time again. If you got someone with cardio with good submission and takedown defense, striking wise, he didn't look all that great. I think there's holes there. Hadzovic, if he can't stop you from taking down and he's not a threat off of his back, big holes there as well. This is just moving forward. I don't see top 15, top 10 guys in either one of these guys. I feel like they're fighting for that 15th spot, and then eventually when they get it, they'll lose it to whoever takes it from them.
Do you think this is kind of the same exact scenario? If these guys are dogs going forward, there might be money to be made on them, but otherwise...
Agreed. You can't bet them as favorites. Yeah. Either one of them. Totally agree with that. On to 145 pounds. We had...
It's a crapshoot, everyone.
And we'll see what's next. We'll see what's next. Oh, there it was. So it ended up switching on us.
But it should say boom, the bonus. Okay, I'll pause it.
And this one's off as well. Because we actually have Manuwa American coming in
doing it myself
against Chris Fishgold, Fishy himself, the submission master UK, coming in against Mr. Finland. This ended up finishing in the second round. Manuwa ended up using his wrestling and actually striking as we called for here. We said he got his boxing, was getting his boxing under control. And he did look to have a little bit better hands than Fishgold. But Manuwa, again, as we were saying, he's been a lifelong wrestler. He just used, you could see on the ground that he was way stronger. Ended up using, in that second round, a Darce choke, and then clockwise it in against Fishgold. There was heat at the weigh-ins, though, in this fight. Fishgold and Manuwa Americani actually being separated because they got into a shoving match at post-weigh-ins or pre-weigh-ins. But either way, during the fight, there was a lot of hugging and slapping hands by Fishgold, a lot of making up in the fight. What I took away from it, Fishgold shouldn't have been as close as money as we thought. Miracon, people still like to underrate this guy because he was very one-dimensional, especially in his wrestling. But as we were saying in the breakdown, the fact that he's specifically taking time to get these things better is going to show up later on, and this is the beginning of that. I think Fishgold, who'd he beat? The lesser Tamur to get here?
Yeah.
Exactly. I don't think he beats too many other guys because he lost his other fight against Qatar, but there's ways to get Fishy out of there. If his ground game is how he wins and he just got beat on the ground, it's like, whoa, there is better guys.
I kind of like Fishgold as an underdog going forward, but Americani, I think he is one to watch. I really like the kid. I like his charisma. I think he's getting more well-rounded in the places he needs to be, and I liked his hands a little better. I like his body in there because he's kind of like a not super cut up guy. He looks like he's appropriate for the division, which a lot of guys don't ever look like that. I kind of like him. I think this is an okay fight for him to win. I don't underestimate Fishgold. I think he is decent. I don't think he's a walkthrough fight at all. I don't know. I think both guys are going to be underestimated in their next fight regardless.
I totally agree with that.
A lot of those on this. A lot of those kind of...
I feel like we've had a couple where we're saying, either one of these people I'm not touching next.
I like them, I don't know. I like Americani going forward, but I don't know if that's totally biased.
Nope, I like Americani moving forward. Fish Gold, I don't necessarily care for Fish Gold all that much. Anything left with either one of those guys?
Oh, no.
On to the co-main event of the night. We had Alexander Rakic, also known as the linchpin here at LaTB, coming in against Jimmy, the poster boy Manuwa. This was one of the most brutal finishes we've seen in like 2 days notice. I mean, this whole month we've been getting, well, the previous month, unreal knockouts on PFL, all sorts of this year we've been getting some amazing knockouts, and this was one of them. 47 seconds, not much to break down. They kind of potted at each other for a bit, and the biggest thing I heard, if I could break anything down, was Rakic's corner saying, he's at American Top Team, by the way. He was saying, throw the left kick, throw the left kick. And guess exactly what Rakic threw. Right, left, kick over the top. And Manuwa was one of the scarier knockouts I've seen in a while, because Manuwa didn't get up. They lifted Rakic's arm. They went to commercial break, came back, and they're like, Manuwa's still not up, guys.
They had to stay away from the octagon longer while they chatted. And then when we went in, they go right to Rakic. And I noticed when the camera, like, he's still on the ground. That's not good. No. And immediately when he hit, it wasn't even that. Immediately, I'm like, he could have broke his whole face in. I still don't like it. Even though that Manuwa was up at the end, I want to know he's okay. Like, he's definitely...
Well, that whiplash, because his head, I don't know...
Twice!
Oh, man, that head hit bad.
It was a nightmare.
That
was
head
awful.
Woo! That was, again, very, very scary knockout. I mean, it's time, right? It's time for Jimmy Manuwa.
What else, Jimmy?
Right?
What else, Jimmy?
Like, you can't get in there against anybody else.
Isn't he a training partner of Gus?
I'm not sure.
Didn't I say it's both of them or none of them?
I believe it.
I'm just saying. You know, I had a shit prelim.
Right.
But I only missed one of
the main card.
Yeah, the main card.
I'm in that boat as well.
Yeah, I killed it on the main. I killed it. I was 10% of the whole country on verdict.
Nice.
I killed it on verdict. That's always the high mark of it.
Right.
I felt like garbage on my Tapology, 6 of 12. I
Same
can't
here.
believe I was in like almost the top 200.
Yeah.
Garbage. That's how you know it was a hard night for everyone.
Lot of underdogs coming through. Rakic not being one of them. But if you're following here at LaTB, you got that linchpin because he was in 100 of my car. I just, like... We don't like to do that here, but we did it, and it worked out with Rakic. But it was also a big fade on Poster Boy. So where do we go with Rakic? I mean, Poster Boy's in that top 5, top 6 right now.
Didn't you tell me whoa with that when I said linchpin? Was this the one where I was like, I'm going to make him this my linchpin of the night? And you were like, whoa. And then after you were like, I was like, you have him to finish round 1?
Yeah, and it's like,
but you were trying to give Jimmy that credit again. You try to give Jimmy that credit somewhere. Every time, though, you do.
Yeah, try to.
Like, try to. Give him some cred, but Jimmy... I like that you're like, it's time.
It is time to get on out of here, my friend. We don't need to see this anymore.
No.
Not anymore.
Well, how do you feel, though, about Alexander Rakic?
Well, I think the perfect fight, even though I don't want to, because at 205, it's not going to be the main eventer going back in against John Jones, but he's still a little young. He beat Jimmy Manuwa, which you can't give him a title fight after beating Jimmy Manuwa. But what I like is, I want to say... They'll do this every once in a while, prospect versus prospect. Give me the freaking Johnny Walker himself versus Rakic. That's a fight.
I kind of like it the other way with what's your dude that you Rakic versus he was your hype train that you wanted to get on.
Justin Ledet.
That's funny though.
Ian Heinisch?
No.
No, he's an 85er.
No, he was, I think your 2018 is it Diego?
Oh, Dominic Reyes.
Yeah.
He just lost to Ozdemir, but he won against Ozdemir, but yeah.
Oh, he beat Ozdemir?
Yeah, in a split decision, controversial.
Oh yeah. And Ozdemir, he still has Latifi.
Right,
So
if they make
that happen.
Right. Or if LaTB's fully out, I could see
Racket's
Ozdemir
ready to go. If I'm the UFC, I put him on UFC. I put him on one of the pay-per-views and build that name right up.
Yep. I like what you're saying, though. I think it could be Ozdemir. I think you're right on that.
And if LaTB is out for a little bit, then
right.
Ozdemir's off the loss, and then he'll be fighting up and fighting
But
down.
even then, Reyes versus Rakic would be a super fun one as well. And that's a tough one to pick.
Yeah, that is hard. That's hard, but that's where I want to see Rakic against somebody who's more ground heavy. Oh, you know what? Speaking of ground heavy, that's kind of what the knockout of Joshua reminded me of last night. I don't know why, but the dude's fighting style was like, he was shorter. He reminded me of DC a little bit. He was just short and punching up, and I think sometimes those taller guys, because I just could not wrap my head around it. But coming back from that injured, but I was just looking at his punches, was so ridiculous. But just he was like leaping up, so his body was like a spring coming up at Joshua and landing right on the temple. It was it was like Stipe DC. It was like something was just like a crumbling house of, I don't know. Oh.
Interesting. So Manuwa, time to go. Rakic, pretty much anybody up in that top 10. Doesn't matter. Just give him a fight. He's ready to go. 47-second
Put him on a main card. Be smart.
100% agreed with that. On to the main event. 205 pounds. Profiled fight of the night. We had Anthony Smith coming in against Alexander Gustafsson. A 3-1 underdog. Ended up coming through and finishing.
All out of order.
Finishing.
Sorry, everyone that's just audio listening. You know we're trying to put on S on the FB. Or not the FB, the YouTube.
Definitely. Gustafsson was the big favorite. Anthony Smith ended up coming in and actually winning the first 2 rounds in there, losing the third on the scorecards. Looked like Gustafsson was finally waking up in that 3rd round. But 4th round came in and Anthony Smith ended up using his grappling ground game to get it done in there. But it was actually a shot off of Gustafsson. Gustafsson went for like a ankle pick or an outside knee pick, and Anthony Smith actually ended up reversing the position and getting on top. So this wasn't a shot by Anthony Smith. It wasn't a double leg takedown by Anthony Smith. This was all determined by actually Gustafsson taking a half-ass shot. And that's why in wrestling, coaches are like, you take 100% shot or not. You don't do this half-ass shit because your knees or your legs are in the wrong place, and all of a sudden you get reversed because you got to blow right through them. So Gus ended up kind of just looking like he was going through the motions. A lot of it, just a lot of the fans coming in, a lot of favorites, or a lot of sharps coming in and being like, round number 4, I had bets round number 4, Gus. Thought he was going to wake up more, but if you're not going to beat Jones, you just got knocked out by Jones, you're not going to get that fight again. You can't beat DC. I mean, there was really no upside for Gus in this spot. Anthony has nothing to lose, but he's not getting that Jones fight next, right? There's no way Anthony gets that Jones fight next.
No. He'll end up fighting Thiago Santos next, regardless.
Right? 100% agreed.
Thiago is off the win or loss. I think his next fight. That's all really that's left in this division, unless you let him fight Johnny Walker on the come up.
But that's where Rakic, Walker, and Reyes are getting there.
They don't deserve the Smith off a win, though. And really, Smith took a lot of damage in this fight. I don't know if he was winning it at the point that he won it. What do you?
I think that Smith eked out the 1st and 2nd round, and he lost that 3rd round for sure. And then I thought that Smith was starting to lose that 4th round, but once it went to the ground, it was one-sided. Like, Gus fucking didn't work at as much as he used. I know they keep saying that, black belt, all that stuff from Anthony Smith. He has some finishes.
I pointed it out.
He does.
He's been doing jiu-jitsu for like 30 years or something.
Yep. I mean, it really shows here.
I don't know if he's 30 years old.
There's a lot of people, though, myself included, that thinking that Gus has fought off better submission guys than Anthony Smith in there, and he just could not get him off of him. And it was a quiet tap. It was a double tap, actually. Gustafsson tapping first to the ground and then having to pull his arm out and top on the outside because he knew the ref wasn't seeing it, and he's like, this guy's killing me.
Yeah.
I'm done. Time to get out of here. Self-imposed. We had the A-list retirement, as we were talking about here. Heinisch, C-list. Gustafsson, A-list. He did it the right way, though. Took off the gloves in the cage and said, show's over, guys. And walked out. It was sad. I mean, how many times has Gus done this in Sweden? I think he's been there 2 or 3 times and lost them all. I think actually he's only won 1 in Sweden, lost the last 2. Rumble Johnson and now Anthony Smith. And he wanted to redeem himself from that brutal knockout against Rumble.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything left for Gus to do, and I think he was only lured back in with this fight to John Jones to get the John Jones DC out of everyone's head so they could let the 205 division move on without DC in that because it was so encompassing for so many years. I just think they lured him out with money that time, and then this with Anthony Smith and him making the comment ahead of time, if I lose to Anthony Smith, I deserve retirement. You know, kind of a shit thing to say. He didn't look awful in there. I think Anthony Smith is just an underrated guy with tons of experience, which that's why I picked him going into it. But Johnny Bones Jones doesn't believe Gus.
So
he put the tweet, it says, honestly, I don't believe you, but if you're serious, thank you for everything. You held the division to a standard and made us better. Go kick ass with that family.
Interesting. What do you think with Gus? Because I think he's gone. I think it is over. It is over. He's telling you.
Yeah, no, I think it's over too. And maybe they could lure him out with more money of some sort because he is such a local favorite. If they ever want to do Stockholm again, maybe there's a certain amount of cash. But he doesn't really have a feud there with Rockhold in the same way that people care. If you're not fighting Johnny Jones for the big cash, do they even care about paying him that kind of cash? So
right. And you're a spot on though. Anthony Smith's next fight is Luke Rockhold because Rockhold isn't in there, but he will be an immediate title contender if he can beat him, and they have a feud. So I
hope
agree.
so. They're trying to immediately build up Rockhold to fight
No, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
Yeah.
Makes no sense at all whatsoever. So again, we're asking here what's going to happen for Lionheart. Thanks, Gus, for all of it. But with Lionheart, again, it's probably that Rockhold fight because if he wins, he gets put right back up in there.
Yeah, I like that. I think Jones doesn't need to... But he's trying to get in tons of fights. We're watching Jones just like...
He's been out for 2 years.
He's trying to make that money back. He's trying to make that money back. But I want to see them all. I want to see... I like the Johnny Walker you were saying. I like the Rakic. I like the Reyes. I like the...
It's a new division all of a sudden.
Yeah, you were so right. This is one that was the worst. This used to be worse than the women's 135. And...
45.
No, even the 35.
Oh, true. It is pretty weak.
I used to think this division was nothing, but now I'm like impressed.
Young
with it.
blood.
It's hungry. It's hungry.
And you got that young blood in it is why. Reyes, all these guys. Beasts.
Retirement. Bye, Gus.
Thanks, Gus. Again, we talked about a bit already where we will go with Lionheart here. It's pretty much only the Rockhold fight and then JBJ potentially. So remember to like and subscribe. At Zoltanite. At Weakneck Baby.
That's it, I guess.
At LaTB.
At the LaTB.
We got a pay-per-view on the way.
Yeah, we'll have that all up. It's UFC 238. Because you know, our girl's on it.
Woo!
Our OG, the Bullet Valentina's fighting Jessica I.
The evil pink eye is on it.
Uh-oh. She don't follow us.
She ain't gonna hear this. She ain't gonna hear this.
And then the people's fight.
Whoo, Cerrone Tiefer.
I can't even deal with that.
And then we also have Cejudo Moraes, which I should be super hyped about because that's actually a really fun one. But it's Tiefer Cerrone. That's the fight of the year potentially right there. I mean,
is this the biggest? We talk about Ali Abdelaziz. Is he the best manager ever that he has Ferguson Cerrone on this fight card for the money that Cejudo could potentially make as the only belt holder?
They're both getting that amount paid is what? Wow, what's going on here?
No. If it was just Moraes Cejudo,
okay,
the belt holder gets pay-per-view buys.
Sure. But they're not selling a lot when it's Cejudo Moraes as a main event.
Exactly.
Right.
So
True.
what kind of negotiation that... it's such a good manager of Ali Abdelaziz. Like, somewhere does he have pool that he's like, no, put him on this card.
Right.
No,
I agree because the reason to buy that pay-per-view card is that fight.
I forgot my other girl's a belt holder too, and Shevchenko. She gets that money too.
But I like the graphic here how she split it by Tony.
Well, I've seen it in other places without Tony and T-Ferg on the card, and I'm like, I can't.
That's wrong.
I can't.
That's wrong. I like that. That. Definitely like that.
Yes, Sorry again, audio-wise. We're going to get it together, and we'll get better about not noticing when it's not together for the people. But hey, it's all new. It's all new technology. So hit the like and subscribe, tell a friend, and we'll be here next week.
LaTB!